Hey Torah sisters, it's Amy Kay. In this video, I'm going to tell you about my Michigan Torah Keepers group, how you can start one, if you want to start one, I will email you all the rules I have. You can copy them if you want to, how to find one in your area, all of that stuff. But first, I want to thank so many of you have subscribed to Torah Sisters Magazine in the last couple weeks. This is the Fall Feast issue. You can cancel anytime, but look, it's real. I will mail it to your house. All right, so a couple weeks ago, I was on the Life podcast with Luke and Katie Abafi. I link to everything I talk about in the description. And towards the end, some of you may have not gotten to this point, I talked about the Michigan Torah Keeper group and how it's helped people in Michigan find fellowship. So I'm going to tell you all about it. I keep restarting this video because it's too long, but it's just so great, and it really is so important. I mean, that I feel like I get certain questions to my email repeatedly, and one of the most common questions I get is, Amy, how do I find fellowship? So maybe I shouldn't be trying to rush through this, because it really is one of the most important things that we struggle with after coming to Torah is finding people. This is my planner. I keep notes about what I want to make sure I say to you. So if you, first of all, go to Facebook, if you live in Michigan, look for Michigan Torah Keepers, and you'll find the group. I'll tell you how to join in a minute. If you live in another state, which most of you do, go to Facebook and look for a group like it in your area. I know some other states are starting groups, at least like mine, or maybe other groups that are a little different than mine, but still wonderful. So type in words like Ohio Torah Keepers or Ohio Torah Observant, or use different words, because I don't know what people call their groups. I only run the Michigan group. I'm not in charge of any other groups. I don't know the groups, but you just search some different words and see what comes up and see if there's a group near you. And some of them might not be for a whole state. Like maybe there's a group just for Columbus, Ohio area. I know that in Michigan, I think there's a couple other for like smaller regions. So search. And I know not all of you are on Facebook, but I only have a Facebook group, so that's what I'm going to talk about here. Maybe someday there's going to be more tools. Another thing, if you don't see a group for your area, maybe consider starting one. And if that's where you think the Father is leading you, then the rest of this video is going to be especially helpful for those of you who might start a group either in your whole state or just your city, or even just for your local fellowship. Some of the tips I have in here might really help you. Now, does everyone have to do your group like Amy's group? Of course not. This is just how I did it, but it is working really well, this Michigan Torah Keeper group. So I started this group about 7 years ago, just with my friends, a handful of people who I knew. And I just said, if you know more Michigan people, invite them. And now the group has almost 800. We're nearing 800 members in the Michigan Torah Keepers group. Isn't that something? And it is just the nicest, most lovely, shalomy group of people ever. Ever. They're so wonderful to each other in this group. And the purpose of the group is to meet up in person. We don't talk about the Bible. I'm going to tell you more about that in a minute. To join the group, also, if you email me at amy@torahsisters.com, and tell me that you want to start a group in your area and you want my rules for my group, I will email you the rules that I have for my group. And you can copy them if you want to, of course, tweak them if you want to. You don't have to copy me, but it can be at least a framework to get you started, because they're just working really well. And sometimes I tweak the rules, every year or so, as you have to deal with problems sometimes. But for the most part, they have worked really, really well. So to join my group, first of all, it is a private group. People cannot see what we post. If you're not in the group, they would click join the group, and then they have to answer 2 questions. I will not let people in unless they answer these 2 questions. The first question is, do you actually live in Michigan? What city in Michigan do you live in? So they have to type the name of their city. Now, sometimes people want in the group who don't actually live in Michigan, and they'll type a little message. They'll say, well, we want to come to Michigan for Sukkot, so we want in the group so we can find a Sukkot. Or they say, we're thinking about moving to Michigan, so we want to join your group to sort of scout it out. I used to let people like that in, but I don't anymore. There were a couple, there were problems, not all problems, not everyone was a problem, but it created not the environment that I think the Father gave me. When the Father gives you a vision for a project or an event or something, you really have to stick to that. And I had steered away from that vision when I started letting people in who don't live in Michigan. So now it's back to, you have to live in Michigan. It is for people who live here. If you're trying to find something in Michigan or something, but you live somewhere else, I hope that you have a friend in Michigan who can help you get connected to something. I don't have time to answer every single question like that, but hopefully you probably already know someone in Michigan who then is also in the group. So and it's partly for safety as well, right? I want to keep the group as safe as I can. Now, can I vet everyone on Facebook? No, there's no foolproof way to vet people on Facebook, because we all know they can make completely fake accounts and names and pictures. So this is just is something that I can do to help keep us safe. The second question that people have to answer before I will let them into the group is, it's a two-part question. Do you believe that Torah is relevant for believers today? And do you believe that Yeshua is the Messiah come in the flesh? And so if they say yes and yes, then I will let them in. That just says, yeah, you're like-minded with us. Now, that's all the theology questions I ask. And so then, with 800 people in the group, there's a wide variety of what I call Torah flavors. Different calendars, different theologies, interpretations of Scripture, all kinds of differences. But we get along really, really well because we don't talk about the Bible in the group. Again, the purpose of my group, the vision the Father gave me, was to have it be a place where people can connect in person. And I have been, most Facebook discussions where you talk about the Bible, especially with strangers who you don't know in real life, they kind of go off the rails. It's easy to say something and have it be completely misunderstood when it's in type, isn't it? And nobody means, well, maybe sometimes people are actually mean, but without even intending to, what you type can come across very wrong. Or I can take something wrong. I can be offended, even though they meant no offense at all. And then what will happen is, so if I allowed Bible discussion in the Michigan Torah Keeper group amongst strangers or people who might know each other, people will leave the group because they get offended or hurt. And that's not wrong. I mean, I've been in Torah discussion groups and I don't usually stay in them because it's just, I don't have time, first of all, and it kind of steals my joy to see how people can treat each other behind a keyboard. When we are together face to face, the fellowship is so much sweeter. And that is one of the biggest questions I get, the biggest requests I get, having done Torah Sisters for this long, is, Amy, how do I find people? Now, since I live in Michigan, I'm going to help do that here in Michigan. So having a group with a specific purpose like that, I think it's just been wonderful. I can't tell you how wonderful it's been. What I want to do is get people in person so that then they can discuss the Bible, because those discussions are so much more fruitful when we're in person. Someone can seem like, when they're doing this and you're having a discussion and comments, they can seem like a jerk sometimes. But then if you're doing that in person, sitting across a table while you're eating your potluck food, they could say with their mouth the exact same words that they had typed, and it could come across totally different. And you might be like, oh my goodness, this person is really loud and enthusiastic with their opinions, but they're also really nice and they're cool and their kids are wonderful and my kids are loving their kids and the wives get along great and I can't wait to fellowship with this family again. And they might have been having the exact same discussion, but it can come across totally different. Another reason I don't allow Bible discussions is, being a woman, I don't want to police those. That's I don't think that would be right. If you allow Bible discussion, you have to, in my opinion, someone needs to shepherd that. They need to police it, is not a great word, but I think there's a responsibility of what comes in front of people's minds. I mean, because people believe all kinds of stuff out there in the wider Torah community. And where are you going to draw the line? Then you have to draw the line. Okay, you can't talk about polygamy. You can't talk about this. You can't talk, like, ugh. So I'm not going to have anything to do with any of that. I don't want to shepherd or police discussions. I just want to create a place where people can find places to meet up and then have those discussions in person, because they are important. All Bible topics are important to discuss, but in person. So that's all I'm doing. It's kind of like, I think of it, remember when we used to go to Sunday church as when we were young, and there was like a church bulletin that you got? This Michigan Torah Keeper group is kind of like the church bulletin. We post meetups and maybe announcements and a couple other things that I'll tell you about in a second. So I just really want you to hear my heart, because to some people, they're like, oh, you don't talk about the Bible? Plus, another thing, we know with 800 people, if they were all posting, even just a portion of them all posting Bible questions, and even good questions like, when is Sukkot? Why are you all doing Sukkot? I'm new to Torah. I need help learning. If they're all doing that, it's just going to be too much. I don't know what your Facebook feed is like, but my feed is way too busy already. So people have a choice. If they want to follow Amy's group, this is all they're going to see, like, church bulletin type stuff. Now, if someone in Michigan wants to start a Michigan Torah discussion group, that's totally fine. Like, I don't care. But I'm not going to join it because I don't have time on my Facebook feed. I'm trying to get off social media more. I'm trying to reduce my screen time and my social media time. And so I wouldn't join that group because I don't have time to join everyone else's Bible discussion. Does that make sense? But some people do, and some people want that. So have at it, but not in the group that I started. We have a specific purpose, a specific vision the Father gave me to help facilitate people to get together in person. So a couple exceptions, so people will come in there and they'll say, we're having a Sabbath fellowship, or we're thinking about renting this room at the library or something once a month, and we'll read the Torah portion and sing. Who wants to come? Or people will post, hey, maybe I'm thinking about taking some young adults bowling in Flint. Who wants to come? Or we're having a Sukkot. Who wants to come? And so these are the kinds of things that people post. Another thing I encourage is when people join the group, I encourage them to post a picture of their family if they don't have to, but it helps to see who you're talking to, and to say, hey, we're the Gunthers. We live in this city. Who's close to us? And if you want to say more about your family, that's great. We just found Torah a couple months ago. We just threw out the Christmas tree. We're very excited. We're so happy to be here. We're looking for people in Flint or wherever. And then people in the group will start commenting, hey, I'm in this town. We're not far from you. We have a fellowship here. We have a gathering here. Or just welcome. People are just so nice. The Michigan Torah keepers are the nicest Torah keepers in the world. I'm just saying. I'm a little partial. So those are the kinds of things that people post. And fellowships have started. People are making friends in the group. And on and on. The group is working for the purpose that it has, to connect people. It's definitely achieving its purpose. Now, a couple other things that I do allow are if people want to say, I'm a plumber and I'm looking to apprentice a young man. Is there a young man out there who is looking for a plumber apprenticeship in this town? Or, hey, I'm looking for a job. I am an electrician. Is there a Hebrew in our community here who's looking to hire an electrician? So I let people connect with jobs and opportunities like that. I think that's important, is when we can, to keep that within our community. Now, self-promotion, promoting a business to sell a service or a product. I don't let people make posts for that. Once in a while, I will start a post that says, hey, Michigan Torah Keepers, if you have something to sell, leave a comment and tell us and put a link to what you sell. And so then everything is kept much more tidy. And sometimes, those threads will get very long, 20 or 30 Michigan Torah keepers who have a business. And I encourage the rest of the Michigan Torah keepers to save that thread. And so then if they need a mover, or they need to buy some soaps or whatever it is, go back to the Michigan Torah Keeper group, find that thread, and shop from one another and support one another's businesses. But that kind of stuff has to be kept neat and tidy, because if all 30 of those people were posting their for sale thing every couple weeks, the group would become too busy and people will leave the group. So I am very strict about keeping those things tidy. So I start a thread like that like once every couple months. And I hope it's blessing the sellers and blessing people to buy from one another too. But if you're starting a group, I highly recommend you keep those things tidy. Another thing that must be kept tidy are prayer requests. And this one is hard. People will post a prayer request, but again, with 800 people in a group, if even 200 people were posting 200 prayer requests once a month, that group is going to become very much too busy. Because we all spend too much time on social media. We don't have time to scroll and scroll and scroll. So again, I use the same thing. I start a thread about maybe every 1 or 2 months. And it just says, hey, Michigan Torah Keepers, post your prayer requests in a comment on this thread. And so they will post. So then I encourage people to come back to this thread on Sabbath and see all the prayer requests and spend some time praying for your fellow Michigan Torah keepers. And so people can get their prayer requests out there to the group, but it's kept very tidy. Does that make sense? The only thing that people can just post by themselves would be meetups. Some kind of a meetup or an introduction saying, I'm looking for fellowship in this town. Those threads, you can start your own thread, because that is the main purpose of the group. Now, again, remember, the purpose of the group is not a prayer request group, and it's not a selling group. It is a meetup group. It is a group to facilitate meeting in person. So it's okay for those other things to be kept tidy in their own little land. But they are important. And these are the things that get hard. And sometimes, people will just go in the group and say, Shabbat Shalom. And honestly, I shut those down too. You can't have 800 people saying Shabbat Shalom. They need to do that on their own wall with their own friends who they met in person by coming to an event that they found on Michigan Torah Keepers. Does that make sense? The Michigan Torah Keepers group is not a fellowship. It's not a body. It's not a congregation. Again, I can't even vet everyone in there. I'm not running a fellowship. I'm not running a church. I'm not running a congregation. First of all, I'm a woman. That would be wrong. And it would just create all kinds of wormholes anyway. So if people want to say Shabbat Shalom, if they want to ask a question, they need to do that with their own people on their own Facebook wall. And they're so kind and enthusiastic and sweet, but again, it just would become too busy. And you'd be surprised. People can start arguing about all kinds of stuff. People might post a meme that says, Yahusha is the way, the truth, and the life. Well, someone will comment and say, that's not his name, it's Yeshua. And I have learned, so even a meme that says, Yahusha is the way, the truth, and the life, that doesn't meet the purpose of the group, so I take it down. And they just can post that on their wall. I'm not saying it's not a wonderful thing to say, and I don't care what name people use, but it just doesn't go in this group. So if you're starting a group, these are lessons I've learned over the years, because I've tried, tinkering with these rules. And so this, after 7 years and 800 people-ish, this is where I'm at right now. Now, I might change my mind in the future. I also have a rule, I don't mitigate disputes. If people do get in a fight, they just have to settle it themselves. I'm not their shepherd. I'm not their pastor. It's not a fellowship. You can't come to me and say you have to work out the fight I'm having with this person in the group, because that doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not in charge of you in real life. I have no authority over these people. The only authority I have in that group is like what gets posted, because I made the group. It has rules, and it's working. It's working so well. I'm sure I'm not perfect at it. In fact, I know I've made mistakes over the years in administering the rules. Sometimes I'm not always fair, and that's a tricky thing. Sometimes there are, so when you're in any group, now that I know what it's like to run a group, I encourage you to be very patient and full of grace to the admins of these Facebook groups. It is so hard to be perfectly fair, isn't it? I mean, even as a parent, I kind of try to be fair as a parent, but I can't. And one thing I told my children when they were very small is, when someone gets something good that you didn't get, instead of saying, take away that good thing from them because you're not fair, Mom, just be happy that the other kid got a good thing. And so I think that principle works in the adult world too. So like with my prayer request rule, right? I don't let people just post a prayer request. They have to post it in the chain on that one thread. I'll be honest with you. If a really sweet old lady who posts a prayer request, and I might even know her in person, and I know that even getting on Facebook for her was a challenge because she's never on Facebook. You know, some of the elderly in our congregations, they're not good at social media. And I know that it was a challenge for her to get on Facebook, and she doesn't understand what I'm talking about when I say post it in the comments. I get that. There's things on social media I ask my kids about. So I might just let that slide, to be honest with you, and just let that old lady put her prayer request in the wrong spot. And if people get mad that how dare I let her do it and not them, you know, I would just say, be happy that she got that. You know, it's okay. You know how to put it into a comment, go put it in the comment, and trust that the Father is going to make the right people see that. So there are times when fair just doesn't work. I do my best, and I'm trying. I will always try. I'm not just throwing fair to the wind. I think it's important to have justice and be consistent, and I'm doing my best. And sometimes I just don't see things. You know, the Facebook is like so fast, and things that happen in the comments, I don't go back to every thread and police the comments. I do encourage people in my group, another topic, to be very careful posting home addresses. So if your fellowship meets at someone's home, you should not go in the group and post someone else's home address in a comment in the group, because they might not want their home address in a group for 800 people to see. Not every fellowship is public, or what I call open invite. Some fellowships, especially house fellowships, for good reasons, are private and invite only. And it is not right for me to invite someone to someone else's home unless they gave me express permission. And sometimes then you have to do that in a private message so that you're not putting someone's home address out there publicly. Also know when you're in these different groups, if you find one in your state, this information becomes outdated really fast. People grow out of houses, or maybe they used to meet the first and third Sabbath, now they meet the second and fourth Sabbath. So be careful just showing up. You might want to reach out. If you can figure out who the host is, reach out to them and say, is it okay if I come? Send them a picture of your family, introduce yourself, and find out when and where they will be. Some fellowships have an email list so that you can sign up. Some fellowships are the mom or the dad will want to even meet you in person first before they allow you to come to fellowship. And I think that's totally fine. So they might say, all right, let's get together at Panera for coffee and let's chat and get to know each other before I start telling you when and where we meet. I think that's very respectable, and it gives you a chance too to see if it's a good fit before you take your family somewhere. That's actually really generous of people to want, or they may have a phone conversation. It's a generous use of their time investing in you. So don't be offended that they want to sort of vet you or get to know you first, because I can't vet people, and the group leaders out there, they know that. And so they're doing their due diligence to protect their family and to protect their flock. Let me see, what else did I want to say? That's it. I made it. Again, if you don't see a group in your area, start one. Some groups are for like the whole state, but there are groups out there maybe just for your city. Maybe there's a group out there for, Columbus, Ohio Torah keepers, or Western Ohio Torah keepers, or Southern Ohio. Search different words and see what's out there, and use these groups to get together in person. The world is getting harder and harder, sisters, and we need real life fellowship. We need it so bad. I've been sick for a while, some of you know, and I finally was able to get out of the house yesterday and be with my fellowship. And it just filled me up. And my kids too. Our kids need friends. So I encourage you, please, please, please find a group, start a group. Some groups are starting to, I think, and I can talk about this in another video. The one problem with Facebook, well, there's a lot of problems with Facebook. One of them for this purpose is that so many people are not on Facebook. So again, that email system is a great way to get the word out. And there's pros and cons to that, but it's an option as well. If you don't want to start a Facebook group, you could start some sort of an email list and get the word out about announcements that way. I don't do that for the state of Michigan because it would just take too much of my time. Like I am learning, I have to set some boundaries. I can do some good, but I can't do all the good, right? We all have to do our pieces. So I don't like email out a bulletin of everything that's happened in the group. Maybe someday. But again, you have to be careful with that too, because who's getting the emails? So you have to be safe. You have to use wisdom and discernment and be careful. But by and large, these Torah meetup groups have been very powerful. And more people, there are people finding fellowship in Michigan because of that group. There was one couple I met not long ago, and I think they had been doing Torah alone for years. They didn't know that there was anyone else out there until one day the Michigan Torah Keeper group kind of like popped up as a suggested group in her Facebook feed, and she clicked on it, and now here they are with us often. I mean, isn't that something? So Facebook has a lot of bad, but it's also done so much good. Yeah. All right. I will stop talking. I will see you guys later. I pray that the ripple effects from all these connections, I mean, man, our kids might find spouses and things. You might find fellowship. Wow. It's just an exciting time to be alive. But get together with people. You need people. All right. Bye.